Good morning. It is 5:26 in the morning, and I am here at Improv TV where we break down making things up. And today we're still going through Drew Carey's Improvaganza. I'm going to be talking about short form. This is going to be the beginning of the real die-hard short form section. I don't know how long it's going to be yet. But what we're going to be talking about short form is that it gets a lot of flack in the modern improv community, I feel, and I happen to notice. However, it is a vital part of the modern improvisational foundation. I mean, with Whose Line Is It Anyway? And Improvaganza, it really got on people's radars. And I feel like that, you know, just as much as Saturday Night Live really helped it put it on the map, getting it in colleges. I think laid the foundation for what then UCB could do with their book, which I think is really going to change and kind of develop another layer of improvisational comedy, sort of in places where that otherwise wouldn't have had the infrastructure to do that. So I think Whose Line got a lot of interest, and I think the UCB book is going to put a lot of power in people's hands in the same way that Impro did for me. And geez Louise, I think it's going to be really good. I think this is a really good time to get involved in all this, just as people are starting to recognize how important improv is as far as creating disposable improv, and I am getting on my high horse pedestal. Hooey! All right, I am here to talk about short form. Yes, this is all part of it because it set up this great foundation, and short form is just all about fulfilling your promises. It's just, you're given the game. In this game, we're going to do this thing, right? And underneath the rules of the game, there's usually a game underneath that, and underneath that maybe another game. But usually it's about, you know, in this game, you know, no one can move themselves, or someone else's arms is going to be their arms. So it's all going to be about misconstruing and, you know, right communication and playing as hard as you can by the rules and still failing. So if it's going to be the hands, it's going to be about, you know, not quite getting the hands right. And if you just do a totally normal scene where someone else's arms or somebody else's, it's going to feel like it's missing something because the promise is you're going to see something that involves mistakes using somebody else's arms for someone else. And I feel like mistakes is implied, especially if you feel like it's going to be super silly. I mean, if you set it up as going to be just a really straight-laced, meaningful play, then okay. But I suspect it's going to feel silly when you say, in this game, someone's going to use their arms for somebody else's. Waka waka. So it's a lot about just fulfilling the promises that are given, and those are usually given by the host. So let's just go ahead and look at that.
I'm just going into the audience to, oh, look how lovely they all are. Oh, how about you two? Come on. Okay. Yeah. It wasn't a question yet. You actually have to come.
So he did not, I like the way he just kind of went in. He kind of was bumbling his way in, so he was setting up some nice low status. I'm just coming into, oh, look how nice they all are. You know, that's a great way of saying good looking audience, but making it seem unintentional, which I really like. He did not say cheer them on. He did not say let's give it a round for this person and that person. He didn't get their names ahead of time. But he's just got a different style, and the audience still applauded for them. Notice just, I guess they were already trained. I don't know how many how many games they'd actually done before these first two. It's hard to know with film. But yes, so let's just go ahead and keep on going. So I kind of wish he'd asked for their names at the get-go. And I think if he had, he might have learned the stuff that you're about to see ahead of time before he got them up on stage, which might have changed his decision, but we'll see.
All right, our next game involves Ryan and Jonathan. And what's your name, ma'am? Samara. And your name, ma'am?
Chris.
You seemed unsure, but we'll go with Chris.
Okay, so we learned the names and restated them again so that everyone can hear it. We'll just keep moving on. You'll start getting used to me interrupting after every single line, but that's the important stuff. That's what's going on in there.
Big hand for Samara and Chris. What's going to happen is we're going to play a game called Moving People. And in this...
I am drunk.
Who
I
isn't?
am drunk.
You know what? Being drunk doesn't really hinder being on stage.
Okay.
What's going to happen is Jonathan and
This is cool. So they're throwing a curveball here. This would normally could be bad, but they're playing with it so well. They're like, oh, it's going to be fine, right? Which is going to be their new game. At this point, I suspect he's already identified, ooh, this is going to be great. Because he brought them up, he had a game in mind, and then she goes, I'm drunk. And he goes, oh, well, that's fine, right? And that's going to be the new game, is her being drunk and him going to be saying, oh, that's fine, right? That's the game. Already. There's a game before he's even said the rules. And we found one game. So, and by the way, a game is really just a way of saying anything that's funny that you can exploit over and over again. That's really all it is. So it's a funny dynamic. And so the funny dynamic is her doing the incorrect thing and him not making a big deal about it and dealing with this obvious problematic situation. So her, if she all of a sudden started doing everything right, it would probably make it harder for them. The more sort of incorrect kind of stuff she does, the better it will be as far as playing up this game. Yes. So I should preface, there's two kinds of games. There's games that you lay out ahead of time and games that are implicit in the scene that you discover. So this is a discovered game versus like a game, a Whose Line Is It Anyway kind of game where you like lay out the rules. So UCB game, discovered, other kind of game, rules. And by the way, this all falls into the comedic theory. If you're interested in what is funny, this is important. This is no one else in improv, as far as I know, really studies this. But some social psychologists did some research into humor, and it turns out that humor is always a benign violation. And so what that means is it is a violation, which means like ethical or rule-based or expectation-based violation. So a violation of order or ethics or morality. And then it's benign, which means it's okay or distant. And distant could be in space, time, or empathy. So if it's someone you don't know very well or do not empathize with, if it's long time ago, or if it's just literally physically far away as well, then it is benign. So if it is a benign violation, then it is funny. If it is not a benign violation, if it is just benign, or if it is just a violation, or if it is neither, it is not funny. That's the current theory. It's the one I happen to buy into as far as the definition of comedy. So I suspect that every game is in some way a benign violation that is discovered and then is played into and heightened. And so if you're teaching or learning comedy and improv comedy and you find that people are missing the mark consistently, ask yourself, is it too benign? Is it too much of a violation? Is it neither? Is it only one? Because I find that often stand-up comedians go too far into the violation and not enough into the benign. Scared improvisers go too much into the benign and not enough into the violation. And if you can just do both, then it's great. And if you can do it a little bit at first and heighten it as you go, then you will bring the audience along with you. And that is why I think improv is so funny if you can just get a little naughty, and why stand-up is so funny if you can just get a little more benign, a little more empathy going on. And that's why I think storytelling, I personally tend to prefer that. And the great, comedians are usually storytellers. They weave a tale that you can empathize with and know exactly how benign a situation is. Because if you just say, racist joke, har, 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 it's not as good as if you know the whole situation. And then the racial tension that can come out is you know exactly how benign it is because you know their situation. Anyway, so that's the grand comedic theory that I've discovered finally, that I definitely buy into. So let's keep going before I talk too much.
Ryan cannot move without your help. It's like, okay.
Okay, so we just played into that again. He's like, here's the rules, and he looked at her and she looked confused and he went, okay. So and that got a big laugh. It's more of this, more her not getting it and more him going, it's going to be okay. And we like seeing him get anxious.
So let's say Jonathan saw someone off in the distance and wanted to wave hello. You'd have to lift his hand for him. You'd have to make him wave. They can't move anything unless you move it. You can move their heads back and forth. Yeah.
Another laugh. Anything? Yeah. It's like building up this tension. And again, this is a benign violation, right? I mean, he's kind of talking down to her, which he shouldn't be. That's naughty, but it's benign because he's really treating her very well. You know, he's not having her go sit down, which would probably be the safe thing to do. And she's sort of setting herself up for it a little bit, coming up and sort of having this problematic sensibility, and being drunk just in general is sort of looked down upon, I think. And that's why it's a little more benign, because we're not exactly empathizing with her.
Hey, Colin, I don't see what could go wrong.
I know, I played the game.
Now,
I know.
oh, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. If you want them to walk forward, you just tap them on the. No, that's you. Yeah. Yeah. Or you can just pat, and they can kind of move a little.
I'd rather move it.
All right, you move them. Remember, they are human beings. They only bend in ways humans bend. Don't make them hit each other or punch each other. Or don't hit them or punch them. Well, because they'll stop and beat the crap out of you. It'll work out. What could go wrong? Could I have a European country?
Okay, so this is great. I mean, still, you can tell they're just playing this game over and over again. It's just like, how could it go wrong? It'll be fine, right? We're setting this up for so much danger, and they're acknowledging it, treating her well, and trying to take care of her as best they can. It's good. It's good. And they're kind of winking at the audience, too.
Belgium. And,
They make great chocolate.
yes, they do. They make great chocolate. Besides waffles and chocolate, what is something you would not expect to be manufactured?
So they're almost making fun of her, but they're not crossing a line, right? She doesn't know she's being made fun of, I don't think. And so in that way, it's okay. They're getting away with it. But if the moment they made her feel bad, violation, right? Then it would just be no benign, all violation. That would be too far. And if they weren't acknowledging the situation at hand and sort of getting uncomfortable about it, there'd be no violation. It would just be all benign. It would be all uncomfortable, benign politeness, right? So they're hitting the mark. They're getting in between. They're finding the both. It's not even between, it's both. It's got to be benign and it's got to be a violation. And that's why winning over your audience is so important, and treating them well is so important, because the moment you're not treating everyone super well and it doesn't feel like a fun party is the moment you have lost it. It's the moment it's over. The moment you cannot have fun anymore, because then any violation is just a violation. There's no benign empathy, which is why you need to win them over. Anyway, which is why you're trying to develop a benevolent audience. Yeah, that's Keith Johnston. Yeah.
In kangaroos.
And I feel like also Del Close really talked a lot about violation. You know, I mean, he was like totally into just getting people's goats, which is why they're all orbiting around the same stuff, this benign violation, and playing these games that you find, these discovered games. The audience is laughing like crazy, and they haven't even started the game yet. That's why this is so magical. I feel like improv is, yes, it's like containing these little bits, but the show is complete. It's like a ringmaster show where you have these impish characters who are playing out what otherwise would be the ringmaster trying to keep them all together. If you're into mask work or any of that, it's sort of like these impish masks who are trying to get out of control, and a high-status character trying to get them in control. Very commedia, that kind of stuff.
So I think we have the gist. Godspeed.
All right. This looks like the bed and breakfast I've saved up for 5 years, and oh, am I excited for Belgium. Hello? Anyone in there?
Please, come in.
I'm coming.
Hello.
It's a little windy.
Tell me about it. Oh.
Let me open the door and walk into this delightful bed
Here,
and
let me
breakfast.
open it for you. I'll
Oh,
get the
thank
door
you.
for you.
Okay, so the thing I like about what they're doing, that I often make the mistake when I do this game called Meat Puppets or whatever you call it, is I don't cue my audience enough for what I should be doing. So, you know, they set up that they were at a bed and breakfast in Belgium. I think they already did that. I hope I didn't just reveal something. But he just goes ahead like, hello, and like, let me open this door, you know, like, let me help you. Like, they're giving the audience members stuff to do and making it easier on them, so that it's all contextualized and they don't just have to, like, so that the audience members don't have to make these offers. They're giving them a little more help, which I feel like I could do a little more personally. Anyway, I hope I didn't just hit my mic. Anyway.
Thank you. Oh. You don't mind if I stretch out before I enjoy Belgium, do you?
Not at all. I will reach for the doorknob now.
So this is a game of justification and silly miscooperation. So it's going to be, you know, I mean, they're going to be playing into the game of do this thing, drunk person, and she's going to not quite do it right. But the generalized game in the meat puppet game is, you know, the person does a thing, and then they have to go, oh, I'm holding this heavy boulder, and then they move their arms like this, and then they're like, I dropped it, there it is, down in the chute. Oh, how are we gonna get it? And then they do this like, well, I'm not going in, that kind of stuff. It's a game of justification. They like to see the actors struggle, and then have to come up with justifications for what the people are giving them, and to just have them struggle with just the funness of touching a stranger and giving the permission to move each other around. Those are the violations, and it's benign because we worked for it to create all this good feeling. And that's why we create all this good feeling, because it helps us with our violations. I'll stop interrupting now.
There it is. I see it. It's right in front of me. I'm going to grasp that doorknob and open the door. Open the door. There we go. Hello. Please, come in. Come in the place.
Let me hop off my pony, and I'll be right there.
Sorry, I didn't see your pony.
I am on a pony. Let me hop off the pony.
Welcome.
Let me hop off the pony.
Okay. Welcome to my bed and breakfast. I know it's your first time in Belgium, but I can help you out.
You can?
Yes.
What should we do first?
Why don't you sign the guest book?
Okay, here I come. Walking over to the guest book. I'm just going to reach it from here.
So it's really important. Okay, I feel like in every game, there is the wrong thing to do. And I mean that both in organic games and in preset games. There is the wrong thing to do. And in this game, the wrong thing to do is to help them out too much. If you move yourself in the Meat Puppet game, who cares? You're cheating. And the audience will go, oh, he's cheating. And I think that applies for, and maybe in the organic game, if, you know, you're being, what could go wrong and the drunk person is kind of not doing right, if all of a sudden she just starts doing everything perfectly, game over, kind of. And if all of a sudden you start being either A, mean to her, or C, actually not caring what she does, like giving up, that would be breaking the game. If someone says, you know, don't you touch me, don't you touch me, if the other person doesn't touch them or doesn't intend to, then the game is over. If it goes, then like we're gonna delight in that almost could be touching the other person who doesn't want to be touched, right? We know that it's okay because they're not actually crying or truly scared. It's just don't you dare, and then the other person's going to, right? But if the other person says don't you touch me and the other person goes okay, then it's kind of like, oh, we just lost that opportunity. Game over.
It's right here. It's over here.
Yeah. Oh.
There we go.
Oh, she's drunk?
There we go. You won't be drinking in the room, will you?
Are you pregnant?
I am.
That is so beautiful.
My husband left town about 3 weeks ago. I haven't had the...
I'm so sorry.
So notice how, at least for me, I remember not thinking that, oh my gosh, you're pregnant was funny. And the reason that we didn't think it was funny is because we didn't see her put her hands on his belly and then say, oh my gosh, you're pregnant. So that was actually an editing mistake. And I'm pretty sure that they edited this after this was not edited live. And the reason I think that is because occasionally they cut to a person before they say something significant, which is not really possible if you edit it live. So Yes, so that was an editing mistake, which is interesting to think about. There's not a lot of filmed improvised comedy, I don't feel like. So just a neat little tidbit. And that's part of why the justification is so important. She puts his hands there, we go, why is he doing that? And he thinks, why am I doing that? And then he goes, oh my gosh, you're pregnant. And then we laugh because that's a fulfillment of, ooh, he had to justify himself. And so they're just playing these two games. Oh my gosh, you're drunk. And oh my gosh, what am I doing? Oh, I'm doing this. Those discoveries.
I still hear his voice.
You're growing nicely, I see.
Yes.
I'm going to stand up now.
Hey, would you like a drink?
Yes.
Let me go over to the bar and mix you something.
Oh, that would be fantastic.
I have a feeling I'm going to know how to do this.
So he's playing into that game again.
Here's the bar right here. I'll grab the cup.
Oh, gin and tonic.
Yes.
Shake
indeed.
it up, shake it
Oh,
up.
that's not enough booze in there. Let me put some more. Look, I
Yo,
just keep
yo,
pouring.
yo, 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 yo.
There we go.
Shake that, baby.
Shake that up.
Shake it.
Here you go.
Let me grab it. I'm going to grab it. I'm going to grab it. Put that down the hatch. The drinking hatch.
You want some, darling?
Me, I'll just drink right out of the bottle. Uh-oh. I may be getting a bit tipsy. And by the way, I probably shouldn't be drinking while I'm pregnant.
I want to see the kangaroos of Belgium.
I'll point to them with my hand.
You're giving birth to a kangaroo?
Yes, why doesn't everyone have a feel?
It's very nice.
Oh my God, what? My water broke.
Push! 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 I got
I'm
it!
so happy you're all here.
I got it!
Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta
I got it!
I'd love to sit down, but I can't do it myself. There we go. I just crushed the baby.
So all of these they're just saying what's happening. Like, oh look, she's still pouring the drink in my mouth. I just crushed the baby. And they're getting laughs just because they're saying what's happening, because they're pointing out the sort of mistakes that are happening in the world and justifying it. And not saying like, oh, blah, 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 but just like making it fit in the world. So that's just what that game's about.
I sat right on his
Get
head.
up! Get up!
No, pick it up.
Here he is.
Let me cut that umbilical cord. Let me cut the...
There we go.
Freeze! Try out this new massage chair, Mr. Brady.
This is amazing.
You can put all...
Okay, so that is concluding just another game. I'm going to go ahead and stop it, just in case. So again, it's just fulfilling all those promises, finding the game within the game, right? In this case, it was sort of like bad drunk audience members, and just sort of showing off the difficulties that they were having. I've done that game so many times, and every time I watch it, I feel like I actually do learn a new thing about how to play that game well, which is just sort of to reaffirm what you're doing and what's happening, and really teaches you to stick to your guns in improv, which I feel like most players need to work on anyway, which is sort of like I'm here for the will, you know? And if you're here for the will, just keep being here. I said that because I've got a will on my desk, but, you know, just keep, that's what you're here for. You're here for the will, and you're getting the will. And if you discover a sub-motivation, great, but stick to the will and make it hard for people to divert you away from the will. Because if you are going here for the will and other people are trying to divert you because they're trying to steal the family money, the moment you allow them to distract you, the moment the game is over. You just need to stick to that will and go for it, because then it allows other people to play with you and for you. And so when you're doing those types of games and you're saying, let me let you in the door, and they just don't, you just got to restate it. Like, I'm sure the door's around here somewhere. Like, I'm frozen in peril at the size of your door. If you just keep saying that, eventually the audience member will get it, and then there'll be a payoff. So really just sticking to your guns would be my bottom line for that game. So thank you guys so much. This is Improv TV, and I will see you guys later.